1 in 10. Endometriosis affects 1 in 10 women. I was diagnosed a year ago. Hello everyone. This video is meant to enlighten you guys about endometriosis. So let me just give you guys a definition of what endometriosis is, and I'll explain further. Endometriosis, pronounced endometriosis. It's a painful disorder in which tissue similar to the tissue that normally lines the inside of your uterus, the endometrium, grows outside your uterus. So the inner lining of a woman's uterus, instead of growing inside, it ends up growing outside. So when a woman is on that period, the blood ends up clotting instead of being released out of the uterus. Symptoms of endometriosis include severe period pains, irritable bowel syndrome, cysts, infertility, chronic fatigue, and so on. So what had happened was, when I got diagnosed, I had been complaining about period pains for a couple of years. So here's my story. In 2018, I started seeing a gynecologist because I was having very severe period pains where I'd miss school, I'd have to stay in bed all day, and I wasn't able to actually do any physical activity. So I went to the gynecologist, I did some scans and all of that, and he found some cysts, and he put me on birth control because he thought the cysts were the ones causing these period pains. And I was good for the next 2 years. I was okay. Fast forward to end of 2019, my symptoms just started becoming severe. My period pains were unbearable, and I was still on birth control. I couldn't walk, I couldn't get out of bed. I had an irritable bowel syndrome where whatever that I would eat, especially milk, whatever I would eat would make me sick. And also during my period, I couldn't do number 2. It was really bad. That's when I knew some of those things were red flags, because I'd get so tired, very, very tired when I'm on my period, even after. My whole cycle was just a lot to take in. So I could just, when you just know that something is wrong in your body and you just need to get it checked. So I went back to my gynecologist and he did some scans. He told me that there was a lot of fluid in my abdomen, and I just didn't understand what he meant. So he kept going back and forth, and he couldn't really identify what was wrong with me. But I kept telling him, I was like, there is something wrong. Like, this cannot be normal. So then he says, okay, your symptoms lead to endometriosis. And mind you, he hadn't done like other scans or whatever diagnosis methods that are normally used to diagnose endometriosis, which I will talk about in a few minutes. So he just wrote me a prescription for some drug that I had to take. It's like a hormonal treatment drug that I had to take. And I just felt like things were just going on too fast, because this is a big word. I don't even know what it means. Like, okay, the symptoms were fitting to this condition. So this is me. Like, I was scared. I was anxious. I was wondering what is going on. So I went home and did some research. The first thing I'm seeing is infertility, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, does that mean I won't be able to have babies? Like, what's gonna happen in the future and all of that stuff? So, and then I started talking to like women in my life, trying to get advice as to what I should do, because at this point I needed to get a second opinion. I wasn't convinced with being told you have endometriosis, but not having backup scans and all of that stuff. So I got referred to, not really referred, but someone I knew talked about a fertility specialist that I could see. So I made an appointment. Fast forward June, I made an appointment. I tell this fertility specialist, 1, 2, 3, I'm having these symptoms and this happens every period and it's unbearable. Like the pain is very excruciating, like you can't do anything. And imagine not being able, like your digestive system is just messed up like during your period. So it was just a lot. So fast forward to August 2020, I do an MRI scan. So the MRI scan was okay. Like your whole body gets in the scan and then it does all kinds of sounds and you just have to be still anyway. So I made an appointment again to discuss the results of the MRI scan. So this MRI scan identifies where the endometriosis is in your body. The doctor told me that I had womb endometriosis. That is, the endometriosis was in my uterus. So what had happened was the endometrium was growing outside my uterus. So that was what was causing all these severe period pains and the fatigue and the irritable bowel syndrome and all of that. So the first thing he tells me is, okay, the good thing was that it was still at a minor stage, like the first stage. It wasn't like severe, so he would be able to conduct the surgery. That is a laparoscopy. Because of the issue that I was having with doing number 2 during my period, he also checked my intestines. He had suspected that maybe in my intestines there could be some endometriosis in my intestines. So he also did an incision there to try and remove some parts so that they're not affected. So with endometriosis, it reoccurs, so I might have surgery in the next, I don't know how many years, but yeah, for now the condition is in a mild and not severe. So like to highlight that there's no cure for endometriosis. Like that one, there's no cure for endometriosis, unfortunately. So what happens is you are put on treatment, you can undergo surgery and hormonal treatment and so forth. So there's so many misconceptions that people have, or pregnancy. I've heard stories where people thought being pregnant can heal the endometriosis, or birth control can heal the endometriosis. But no, what my doctor kept emphasizing is that the endometriosis keeps reoccurring. So surgery is just meant to manage it or reduce some of it in your body to make it more bearable. So now I'm going to talk about how it's been and some of the issues that I faced. One thing that I don't even know where to start, but one thing's for sure, being diagnosed with this condition affected my mental health like a lot. My anxiety just went through the roof. I'd have sleepless nights, being stressed about the whole condition. Even before the surgery, this was my first surgery, by the way, so I was very anxious and just stressed about the long-term effects, because also one of the long-term effects is that infertility. So a lot of women only get diagnosed like 7 years later. Like maybe you have an issue now and you're only gonna get diagnosed like 7 years later, because of how most of the symptoms that people have will be misdiagnosed with some other conditions. So yeah, and I'm also very thankful for my support system. One thing's for sure, my support system, my family, my friends, my boyfriend, like everyone has been so supportive, because as much as you may think you can be there for yourself and all of that, but you need like a proper support system, because chronic conditions can take, oh my gosh, like they take everything out of you, like the pain, the sleepless nights, the fatigue, like it's just so exhausting. So this is my story. I just wanted to share to anyone out there that you're not alone.
So what did he do after the surgery? What was the next stage after the surgery?
So after the surgery, I had to get on bed rest for 6 weeks. So he had told me that after surgery, so when I had consulted in the beginning, he had told me that after surgery, I'd get on hormonal treatment, a drug called Zoladex. So this hormonal treatment was meant to balance my hormones to try and control the endometriosis. So I was put on Zoladex to try to manage the endometriosis, and there are some unpleasant side effects of the drug, which I can mention a few. Hot flashes. The hot flashes were just too much. Like, it's just too much to be going through at such a young age. Given Zoladex for a 3 months treatment. So in those 3 months, I got into menopause. I know, it's crazy. I got into menopause at 23. I got into menopause. So the drug is just meant is part of treatment, endometriosis.
So
also, guys, from day one, everything has just been such, how do I even put it? Consultations, surgeries, treatment, the pills, everything is just expensive. And I'm very thankful to have my parents covering all the costs and all of that, because wow, it wouldn't have been easy. So lastly, to anyone out there who has any questions or they might think that they may have it, it's always best to get it checked, because I don't know, imagine if I had gotten it checked is still almost stage 4, that would have been very devastating. So I am very lucky, TBH, I'm very lucky to have caught it since almost stage 1, because it's just and I also wanted to talk about how now, due to the endometriosis, my body has completely changed in terms of I can't eat anything and everything like I used to. I'm still working on changing my diet, which is kind of difficult. So recently I've stopped taking normal milk. I have to take almond milk. I've also tried taking lactose-free milk, because what happens is that normal milk makes me sick, like my stomach becomes painful. I would recommend Dr. Mulalekwa. He's a fertility specialist and he's helped me so much through this journey. And if anyone has any questions, you can DM me. And thank you for watching. And if the sun don't shine, I'ma get what's mine, I'ma give it a try. Do all the things I've been through, I know I'ma survive. Just 'cause it's dark and hazy, it don't mean you're never gonna see the light. You gotta trust